We'll move over to our next question, going back to M2K, who asks, if you can only have Chase and American Express cards, what would be a solid setup with the maximum return and lowest annual fee? Lonnie's shaking his head because
I'm just gonna bow out. I don't have the mental acuity to do the math on that one, especially across two ecosystems. I'm just gonna bow out. The ones that work for you. I'm gonna take the RJ easy answer, the one that works for you.
there we go.
The easy answer is you get the green, you get the flex and the Freedom United, and you transfer everything to Marriott for some reason. I don't know what that reason would be, but that is a mutual partner. Or JetBlue at the weird Amex JetBlue transfer. But
With a
you'd
tap.
also have to have the CSP to actually transfer out. So, yeah, look, Chase and Amex are becoming Apple and like Android. Like, you pick one. If you want to play with both, you can, but people will look at you a little funny. That is what it's becoming. It's not like a multi-system game anymore. Like, I think Lonnie's topic last week or the week after was in that vein of we're becoming you pick one. Like, you can have Wells Fargo as your second for either, you can have Citi as your second for either, you can have whoever as your second for either. But you pick Chase or you pick, except for like co-brands like IHG. I have a Chase IHG card. Like, that has no bearing. The chase of it all has no bearing, right? Like, any reputable bank who had that IHG card, it would be the exact same. So I think that it's becoming a you pick one instead of you make a setup with both. Because especially with Chase, you have to have an annual fee card to transfer out. But if you're not using that annual fee card for anything but transferring out, it feels redundant. Like, it's just weird, man. You don't want the green and the CSR. That's also a very weird combo. You could, but unless you're doing international flights and some weird hack arounds, I don't know why you would.
It's fair. Craig, any thoughts here?
I was going to say to RJ's point, if you're going to be doing international flights, go for it. But there are also just cheaper ways to do that. Like RJ said, pair it with Citi, pair it with Capital One or Wells Fargo. For me, I'm having an existential travel credit card problem because I have recently lost 22 trips a year for work, right? I am not flying nearly as much. So I don't need to have access to a Chase and an Amex lounge. I don't need to have super high status on all my hotels, but if I'm being realistic, for me, I'm getting as many hotel cards as I possibly can. So I'm grabbing IHG, I'm grabbing Hyatt, Aspire, Brilliant. Depending on if I'm actually staying at nights, I might get the Marriott business, but probably not. And then for me, just a green and a gold at that point. I have lounge access covered with and you know what? Green, gold, platinum. Just it isn't really a viable strategy. But my thing is, I'm spending more time in hotels, especially now that I'm not flying for work. I'm not going to be in the air nearly as much. I don't really particularly care now. Before I was doing it so I could get a shower in the airport or get something to eat. Now I'm getting to the airport when I need to. I'm probably having food beforehand or I'm like eating somewhere in the airport because I don't mind paying 60, $70 for a meal if I'm only doing it once every other month. I think that's what people don't realize is that lounges are awesome. They're a great luxury, but at least for me and the way that I use them, it's a necessity, not a luxury because and I'll say I don't know about Lonnie, I won't speak for him, but sometimes I'm running out of a meeting and going to hop on a flight within 2 hours and I just want to grab a quick shower and a bite to eat. And I can't do that on the way to the airport. And I can tell you as a traveler, having a shower and a clean pair of underwear and an undershirt on is a game changer, no matter who you are, where you're going.
Socks.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah, if you can only have Chase and Amex, what would be a solid setup with the maximum return? I don't, I feel like this question right now is a little too open-ended just because we still have unknown unknowns with both ecosystems. Like, we expect that the green is going to get refreshed. How high does that annual fee go? American Express has 9 floating trademarks, which again, trademarks do not mean products. I get that. But if they introduce 4 new credit cards and refresh the green and refresh the platinum, you have to completely reassess the entire American Express ecosystem, especially if those 4 new credit cards are all membership reward earning cards,
And
potentially at various point. Yep.
didn't the CEO or one of the senior people at Amex say like they're refreshing more things? A
Yes.
lot of the refreshes are international, but there's still quite a lot on the table for Amex, and they pulled 3 credit cards that they still haven't acknowledged that they pulled,
Yep.
which may or may not come back in some flavor. So there's a lot Amex could do in the next 6 to 18 months.
Yeah, and they have at least a 4-month head start to make the green and the platinum even more tempting to folks who look at Chase and say, "What the hell did you do to me?
Yeah.
Why did you just knife me in the stomach?" Maybe not knife you in the stomach, but Chase is also a bit of a wild card. Like, we don't know what's happening with the Freedom Flex. Freedom Unlimited will probably be the next card after that to get a refresh. We don't know what's happening with the Sapphire Preferred. We don't know what's happening with the on the business side. We don't know what's happening with the Ink Preferred. So this is a really weird question in June, July of 2025 when there are a significant number of unknown unknowns. Because right now you could say if you have a Freedom Flex and you have a Freedom Unlimited, that's no annual fee. You pair it with the $95 preferred, and like as long as that setup is working for you, $95, you get the $50 hotel credit, effectively $45. Don't go out of your way to use that $50 hotel credit. It's stupid. Don't do it. But then on the American Express side, you can go with the green card, but you have no real support, publicly available support cards underneath it. Like the Everyday Preferred was not a particularly compelling support card to the green card and was $95. The Everyday card was not a particularly compelling support card to the green card. And so you'd have to go above market, and now you're looking at 150 plus 325. And do you want to pay 475 for 2 cards, even with all of the points that you can generate on everyday items between dining, groceries, and the travel that the green card gives you? Still no gas category. So it's an interesting question that I don't know that we can come to a full consensus answer right now, but will be significantly clearer probably by the end of the year once we know what's happening with the green card, once we know if American Express is introducing any more cards or replacing the everyday cards, rebranding stuff. Like, they've got 9 trademarks floating out there. 9 trademarks has to mean at least 1 card. Like,
Yeah.
I have to give you you have to give us at least an 11% conversion rate on that one.
I also think I understand the idea of like maximum rewards for lowest annual fee, but that's not who American Express is. Like
Or Chase
American
for that
Express,
matter.
but Chase has $0 annual fee cards that earn the UR points. Like
Yeah.
you can't transfer them without it, but they still earn effectively what is UR points. You can't do that with any publicly available Amex card. Like
Yeah.
American Express is not cheap and make lots of points. They are you pay for it and then we'll make lots of points. Like I get a mini sub every time I whip out my platinum to pay for airline tickets because 10 to 15,000 points every time I book flights when I book flights for my family, which is great, but I'm paying for it. Now, thankfully, the platinum works for me in its current state. We'll see what happens on the refresh. But that is something that I have already budgeted into my budget for. if you told me you just got to pay $695 for the CSP or whatever, like that's not going to work. But American Express has said you're going to pay, you're going to get a lot, for it. And the idea of maximum return on lowest annual fee is the antithesis of what Amex is. So I think we have to understand who the banks are from their core identity. Chase is in a little bit of an identity crisis, but Amex is not. Amex is as crystal clear on who they are as you could possibly ask for. You'll pay for it, but we'll give you X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
But you're going to pay for it.
Push back for a second?
Yeah.
I think, and not against anything bad that you said. I think Chase is actually very much so aligned with exactly who they want to be. I think if you just look at who is spending money right now, it is very heavily Gen Z and millennials in that 44 to 30 range. And I think that they want a bigger slice of that pie because for whatever reason, we live in a current culture of flashy showboat social media. People want to have the idea or the perception of luxury and wealth, even if we don't do it, right? And I think that the idea or the numbers speak for themselves. We have $1 trillion in credit card debt. Like the only other debt that's remotely close to that is consumer outside of student loans is car debt. People are car poor. People are looking to let you know, I have what I have. I have been trying to get a big, dumb, stupid Yukon Denali for 3 years now. My wife will not let me get it. My wife doesn't financially abuse me. She just says, hey, why don't we pay off a house first and not buy a big, dumb, stupid truck? It's neither here nor there. But I still drive the same Ford Fusion that I've been driving since I bought it in college. Could I afford a new car? Yeah. Does Chase know I can afford a new car? Probably. Capital One does because they send me a pre-qualified for this email every 3 minutes. And I think Chase is, to everyone's chagrin, is moving to get more in line with Amex. I think the CSR is a prime example of this. I wouldn't be surprised if that third Sapphire card is some odd combination of the Freedom Flex and Unlimited. Granted, that's speculation. Take that with a grain of salt. But I think that the days of us earning relatively free UR points is kind of come and gone. Because again, I think the CSP will be the last card to get the update, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at a pre-update Amex Gold 250 or 150. But if we're basing it off of the trends of the United cards are a little bit less expensive than the Sapphire or the UR earning cards, we're looking at probably a 250 CSP. And I think that lends itself to Chase and Amex being the two options that are slightly different, but not really different. It's like a Pixel and an iPhone.
So I don't disagree with what you're saying, but the problem is Chase is in the middle of it. And I
Fair.
think that's what confuses it, right? Like American Express, they're not changing. Even when they update the cards, they're not changing their identity. Chase is trying to change their identity, which muddies the waters. That's more what I was getting at. I agree with all of your points. I just think they're in the transitional phase, so it is more muddy because we don't actually like they could course correct. I don't think they will, but as the things roll out before the 4 months is up and the current holders have their changes, things could change. So I think because that is all so muddy, we can't say they have a clear identity at this moment. I think they're trying to. I just don't think they've done it yet.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I'm in a position right now where I don't think it's wise to try and pick one or the other until we know we come out on the other side of the next 6 months with whatever the hell they're doing. Because it's a lot.